Since the inception of USAID's Kenya Investment Mechanism KIM, one of the project's key objectives has been to mobilize financing for women-owned small-medium enterprises or WSMEs. A gaps analysis conducted by KIM in 2021 revealed low rates of financing for women small-medium enterprises. Some of the reasons for the low rates included lack of business management skills, value chain-related challenges such as women operating in unprofitable value chains, and a lack of information on value chain financing opportunities.
We realized that there was a big gap when you speak of accessing credit and even preparing those women to be able to access that credit. We realized that even before they approach the financial institutions, there was a capacity gap. And that is the main gap that we wanted to cover. And when we looked around in terms of partnerships, in terms of people who had a program that could be tailor-made and we could co-create together, that is why we chose Strathmore Business School.
To therefore enhance access to finance for Kenyan women small-medium enterprises, KIM partnered with the Strathmore Business School to design and deliver the Women SMEs Investor Ready program, which was launched in July 2022. The executive program was designed to equip women entrepreneurs with the knowledge, skills, and tools to build investable businesses and gain competitive advantage to exploit value-adding opportunities. Entrepreneurs signing up for the program received 5 days of classroom training and 2 months of business and pitch coaching. Through the coaching, entrepreneurs were equipped with investor pitching skills, they learned how to develop investable pitch decks, and were linked to KIM's network of business advisory service providers, BASPs, and investors. The program also provided a unique platform to network and learn from fellow entrepreneurs, faculty, and industry experts. To date, the program has graduated close to 200 women entrepreneurs.
It was, I'd call it a holistic kind of approach that touched on everything that an entrepreneur would need. And personally, the financials and the continuity of my business, the succession of my business, is something that got me thinking. And there is so much that I'm going to put in place once I'm out of here.
I've been doing things ordinarily, keeping records everywhere, in this diary, in that diary, but we learned about the importance of financial and record keeping. And I also learned a lot about pitching. I learned about BSPs, which to me it was an eye-opener that I can have a business advisor who can walk with me through and assist me to get even funding or to reorganize my business.
The practicability of this program is what really made me realize, oh my God, there's some people who are really articulate and are ready to help women. You see, the part that I really had and a good experience is when we had practical and tangible experience. When us as women, we are supposed to, we are waiting for, we are looking for funding, we are looking for other information that is going to help us in terms of business, we realized that this program was able to bring the practical people to us. We're able to get the experience as we are moving through the program. And that part really made me realize that there are so many things that people can do to women. And us, we're ready, as women, we're very lucky to have this kind of program.
KIM's strategic partnership with Strathmore Business School is central to ensuring that the gains made by the Women's Economic Empowerment WEE team in building the capacity of WSMEs are sustained.
I love this partnership, and I think it's going to go far, very, very far, with regard to capacitating our women in the small and medium enterprise agricultural sector, but also wider and beyond that.
The Women SMEs Investor Ready program has now been fully incorporated into Strathmore's course offerings. This will ensure that the program will be readily available for other WSMEs in the future, further scaling up opportunities for women's entrepreneurship in Kenya.
So if you're in business and you're stuck and you don't know where to go next, or you don't know how even to run your business, from even bookkeeping, from branding, from marketing, probably you're just doing them here and there, casually, the way we just do business, I think this is a program that is really tailored well for anyone who is in business, and especially women.
Well, and that video now ushers us into our final panel discussion of the day, which will be moderated by Lucy Mitei, who I will introduce shortly. This panel conversation will be focusing on breaking barriers, igniting success, investing in women for economic empowerment. I'd like to now welcome Lucy Mitei. Lucy is the Women's Economic Empowerment Manager at USAID's Kenya Investment Mechanism. She has over a decade of experience in gender equality, women's economic empowerment and social inclusion through strategic leadership and a focused gender lens. She has led the implementation of transformative initiatives across different sectors. Lucy has been instrumental in accelerating capital mobilization, boosting the visibility of women-owned enterprises, and successfully advocating for gender-responsive policies. Let's put our hands together for Lucy as she moderates our next panel.
Thank you, Terianne, for that introduction. So I'll just pick it up from the video that we just watched. And through that program, we were able to take about 150 women entrepreneurs in different sectors, but mainly agriculture, because we had, from our data, from KIM's data, we had about 70% of all our portfolio coming from agriculture, when you talk about women-owned enterprises. So agriculture was a sector that was well represented, especially you talk about the 150 SMEs who went through the program. It's good to mention that it was a core investment, and so it was not an affirmative, a full affirmative action under KIM. So the women who went through the program also co-invested in the program. We recently did an outcome harvesting just to see how the women are doing. And one of the interesting things that came from that report is, for example, of all, at average, the companies, the women entrepreneurs who went through the program have actually created at least 2 jobs. Can you clap for the women who went through the program? 2 jobs. And so you can see we're talking about like 300 jobs created through the program. In terms of access to finance, money has started raining. The women have started accessing financing, and we are tracking, and we are actually at 5 million USD, which is quite a figure compared to what we were experiencing in the past. So to give us a better picture of this program, allow me to introduce my panel of the day. I'll start with Catherine Kitonga, who is the CEO, Smart Regional Consultant. She was very key in the program because she supported in provision of investor readiness coaching to the Strathmore coaches. Karibu sana, Catherine. A round of applause for Catherine. Allow me to also introduce Professor Ruth Kiraka. She was the team leader for this particular program, and she really gave the strategic leadership to the team that was co-creating and even rolling out the program, and she played a key role. A round of applause for Professor Ruth Kiraka. And to represent, of course, if it were me, I would have come here with the 150 women entrepreneurs who went through the program. But to represent the women who went through the program, allow me to invite Virginia Kariuki. She's the managing director at Cedar Health. Karibu sana, Virginia. She was part of, I think, the last cohort. And last, allow me to invite Dr. Jane Olo. Dr. Jane Olo is the CEO, Gentle Dental Care. It was by design that we have entrepreneurs in the health space for one reason. Really also want to understand the issues in that space and how they were able to navigate to that space. But before we start our conversation, there are a number of program participants who are seated here. I'd like to request them to stand and wave. If you went through the Investor Readiness Program, please stand and wave. And as you can see, almost half the room are actually the women entrepreneurs who went through. Thank you very much, ladies. And it's good to mention that we covered so many counties as far as Isiolo. And we have someone actually here today from Isiolo. We have from Kajiado, from Meru, and other counties. So it's a program that really tried to cover other counties. So allow us to start this conversation, and I'd like to start with the women entrepreneurs who went through the program. And I'm just interested in the unique challenges that women entrepreneurs face and how the program was able to really address those challenges. And allow me to start with Dr. Odo.
Thank you very much, Lucy. It's a real pleasure and indeed a privilege to be present here today. When we joined together as the cohort 3 of the KIMS USAID training for women entrepreneurs, they explained it clearly to us that this was a preparation course to allow us to approach investors and financiers, and it did not fall short. I have been in practice for 35 years. There are people in this room who were not born when I started. I believe so. And so I've been there, done that, seen it all. Some of the challenges I faced have already been elucidated in the video. One of the main ones was financing for women without having proper access to security. And a very unique thing that women face that I suspect men do not, which is confidence in approaching financiers. And those were my two key issues that were giving me a problem. And again, there was the third issue. For a successful dentist, what got me to this place was not going to take me where I needed to go. What got me here won't take me there. I was at a bridge, and I was very grateful when I was accepted as part of the cohort 3 for this program. Thank you.
Great. And I would just want to pick from there, how was the program able to support you? For example, when you talk about confidence, and I know one of the things that maybe the audience need to know is you've been able to access financing within a short period of time after the program. So how was the program able to navigate and really support you?
Well, before the program, I've given you the picture of what it was like. But the program taught me the actual anchors that a financier is looking for. And instead of focusing on what I don't have, it was the program keys itself in on this is this pillar, next pillar, and next pillar. And it was basically about learning the potential of what you're able to get out of your practice, what you're able to get out of your business, being able to identify key indicators, things like your financials, having them in place, your personality type and the staff that you have, and are you utilizing your staff ideally? Under financing, what does it look like? Markets, and so on. So the teaching was able to give me very key areas where I was falling short. And yes, indeed, Lucy, a month after the program, KCB approved 10 million shillings for my practice, for refinancing.
Absolutely. And just to mention that you had applied for that 10 million and not that you were funded for what you applied for.
Yes, actually what happened was that I did apply. I wasn't sure I would get the 10 million because the financier, being KCB, came over to Strathmore, who are their good friends. And during the program, they mentioned casually that, well, we're giving up to 10 million to women because right now we have a lot of money. But you, but you absolutely have to qualify. And so I did apply, and I wasn't expecting them to give me even 5 million. They looked at my books. They walked into my office, something that I was not accustomed to. They looked at my books, and a week later, I'm talking about 8 days, they called me and said, you have an approval.
Clap for that. And I think for me that is quite important because also looking at our data at KIM, it was also showing us that in most times, when women apply for financing, they actually don't get what they apply for. So underfunding was a major problem, and it's good to know that you got your 10 million. Let me come to you, Virginia, the same question. The challenges that you faced and how the program was able to support you address that.
Thank you, Lucy. I must start by saying I was in cohort 3, and I was the youngest.
And the class president.
And I still made it to be the class president. Thank you. Dr. Jane started practicing way before I was born. And one of the biggest challenge that I experienced when I joined into business, when I went into business, was loneliness. I didn't realize that being at the top is very lonely. And what the program offered at first was network. Having brought about 150 women together, we were able to form circles of women who were of like-mindedness. So I'm able to call friends who we were with at the program and tell them when it is getting tough, and they'll be able to give me counsel. Another thing that I gathered from the program was information. They say knowledge is power, and I have been, over the years, this is personal, I've been brought up in a business setup, and I used to help in my father's business. And I would hear him say most of the time that loans are not very good. And he had a very negative attitude towards loans. And that gave me a negative perception about loans. So when I was applying for the KIM program, I actually thought I was coming to be given money by USAID. And I want to attest, many ladies agreed to that. They thought they're coming for the money. But when we came and we were taken through a very thorough program, we would come to the school by 7:30 and leave at 5:30. And it was very intense. What they were giving us was more than money. They gave us information. And that information gave us confidence. So what I gathered, one of the biggest problems that women face is access to financing, and this is so because they don't have collateral. But going through the program, it led us to understanding that for you to go to a bank to seek for a loan, you need to be ready for the investment. So they took us through investor readiness, gave us coaches for 2 months who would work with us, brought in business advisories, who guided us that you're able to get, banks came and they told us that you're able to get up to 10 million unsecured using your cash flows. So with this is one of the things, knowledge gave me confidence. So I was able, even when we were in class, I was able to go through, I would write to my accountant, we need to change how we do things. We need to change the bookkeeping. We need to start getting organized. So from there, I was able, through the pitching session, I was able to go through my business and organize it in a better way to prepare myself to be investor ready. So when I was facing the bank, I had my numbers. I knew how much I want. the grace period that I want for the investment before I start repaying for the loan, and how much my business is able to cater for monthly. Yes.
Great. And I remember, because I sat through your cohort 3, one of the questions you had during the program was an interesting one, because you asked, how do you, I don't want to say fire, because I think it was a family member, how do you release a non-performing employee who is also a relative? And I'm sure the Reds were able to support you with that very well.
Yes, being new in this industry and being young, you'd find your parents will tell you, oh, we have a cousin, we have an auntie who will be able to guide you in this industry. So I got myself having so many relatives working for my organization. So, and it would be very hard to fire them, because now this would have been a dinner table discussion. It would be, you understand she's your cousin, you know this is family and family is important. So we were taken through a unit about human resource, corporate governance, and succession planning. Can you imagine? Succession planning at my age. I've just started. So when we went through that unit, I was able to inquire from the instructors about human resource. You know, women, we pride ourselves to be good multitaskers, but when we bring the multitasking in the business, it becomes very disorganized. That's why you find most women-owned businesses do not have books kept. They have written in one diary here, the other diary. If you ask them, they don't have a system. So that was the same for my business. And now I did not have clearly stipulated contracts for my employees. So going through the program, they taught us that it's very important for you to come up with contracts, legal contracts with your lawyer that will be favorable to both the employee and the employer. So when I came up with the contracts, I was able to use the contract stipulation and clauses. I felt very nice sounding like a lawyer. I fired you because on this clause, it says summary dismissal. Yes, it felt really nice. So, it would not become a dinner table discussion. Now it is law. You cannot argue with law.
I like that, and I hope you still get invited to family meetings after doing all that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. To you, Professor Kiraka, I remember very well when we started co-creating the program, we had actually scheduled just a 2-hour session, and we ended up doing it almost the entire day, because you came in and you were like, you guys are not serious, you can't do this in 2 hours. So. And looking back, and even before that, in terms of the resources, in terms of the strategies, in terms of the components of the program, how were we able to really do this and really achieve the results? What were these components of the program that really supported Virginia and Dr. Olo really access financing that first?
All right, thank you very much, Lucy. And you're right, we started with a co-creation exercise in one little room in the business school building, and that took us a lot longer than we thought it would. We looked at existing programs, and we picked bits and pieces from them, but we felt they were not going to address what the women need. And when you listen to these two ladies here, you can hear some of the what women need kind of questions coming up. Dr. Olo says, I didn't think I can get 10 million. I applied for 10 million, but I didn't even expect to get 5. Or she says, I didn't expect the KCB to come to my business. No, these are surprises. Like, I'm a woman entrepreneur. I've been doing this for 35 years. This has never happened. So there's a mindset that I am not good enough, or I don't qualify, I don't merit. So there's that personal self-efficacy aspect of the woman about herself and what she believes about her ability. Virginia says, I'm just a young woman entrepreneur. I'm the youngest. This will become a family conversation. So again, issues around self-efficacy, believing in their ability to do this was an important thing to address. And I think one of the first sessions was the Clarity 4D, where they got to learn more about themselves and their leadership styles and how they interact with other people, and that was an eye-opener, that self-assessment. The other thing, I suppose, was around even the cultural barriers that Virginia has just said. I was raised to believe that loans are bad. You know, if you're a business person, you're going to take loans. But if that is the mindset, how do we deal with that? So again, looking at what are the barriers from a cultural perspective that are making women find it difficult. Some of them, it's probably the family, maybe the spouse, who doesn't believe you should take a loan. How do we have that conversation in a safe space? Which is the third component about this, was about creating a safe space. These are 50 women only in a class, so they can talk about the issues that affect women without any men sort of jumping in and saying, hey, my wife wouldn't do that, or that is not appropriate for a woman. You know, we did not have, so it was a safe space for women to actually unpack some of those challenges and barriers that need to be broken. And also, the other thing that was very clear was the networking. A lot of women are walking alone. And we always say the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. It's true in the weather, it is also true in business, it's true in academia, it's true everywhere. As you rise to a senior position in any organization, there are fewer and fewer people who are like you and who are thinking like you. So a lot of these women own businesses, and they're at the top there on their own. They're not networking with anybody, they're not asking for advice from anybody, and they don't even know that there's anyone they can trust who they can ask for advice, because they think anybody they ask for advice is going to steal their business idea. So they stay alone with their problems, they stay alone with their business ideas, and just hope for the best, you know. So I think those are some of the things that we're looking to unpack through this program when we had that session. One of the other things that was interesting was, it warmed my heart to see the National Treasury here, because it's another program that I've been involved in where the National Treasury was a very lovely, wonderful partner. I never imagined that I could work so well with government. I was so pleased. Kenya Revenue Authority. When I talk about the government here, I'm talking specifically about Kenya Revenue Authority. KRA, a lot of women think KRA is an enemy. And so having the conversation that, look, this is your business partner. You're not going to go very far if you're not paying your taxes. We've just talked about the credit guarantee scheme. And for you to be credit worthy for that scheme and for other government schemes, you must be paying your taxes because you're using government money. And the last thing you want as an entrepreneur is the Kenya Revenue Authority knocking on your doors or insisting on a tax audit because you've not been filing your returns. And so again, having those conversations and breaking the barrier around seeing government entities and agencies as your partners in business. And then obviously a number of the other things that they have talked about around financial management. Before we did the training, we had a needs assessment, a training needs assessment. And one of the questions we were asking the women entrepreneurs is, do you have financial records? A number of them said yes, some said no, others said maybe. Now, when somebody says maybe, when you ask them whether they have financial records, they said, you know, the thing is, I have, like Virginia said, little pieces of paper all over the place where I write different things. I don't know that that is financial records or it's something similar or what exactly you mean by financial records. And clearly, you're not going to get any financial support if people can't look at your books. And related to that was, again, the anxiety about sharing their financial data. I remember with the cohort 1, it was a real challenge doing the coaching because the women wouldn't share their financial information. So you can't tell if this business is successful, whether it is doing well, whether they're able to even repay a loan if they were to take one, how much loan can they take. So we struggled with that aspect as well. Because again, and this is linked to, again, the KRA fear, that, you know, if you know how much money I'm making, and you could whistle-blow that I'm not paying the taxes I should be paying. Yeah. So even just dealing with that anxiety about opening up about their financial records and keeping proper books of accounts and even allowing for those books of accounts to be audited. So those are some of the other interesting things that we had conversations around. And then I think the other ones were about access to markets. And some of them talked about exporting. And some of them said, oh, I'd really like to export. And when we had conversations with, I think it was somebody in the first cohort, we had somebody who is involved in fresh produce, exporting of fresh produce from Kenya. a number of them realized that they were nowhere near ready exporting. They don't have proper certification, traceability is it's quality. There are so many things, so many boxes they need to tick before they can get into the export space. A number of other business people who had come expecting money, as Virginia said, realized they don't even qualify to get this money. Even if I wanted to give you a grant, I would think twice, because the business is not stable enough to even be given any money in any way, shape, or form. That there are some basics that are not in place. And so those were the conversations that I think we were having to support the women to get to where they would need to get to be investor ready. Thanks.
Thank you, Prof. And when you talk about safe spaces, it reminds me that we also had market days on Fridays in the evening, where we get the women entrepreneurs come to the program with their products and sell it to their peers. And one of the things that I think, Prof, you were able to identify is most women really underprice their products, and so part of that was really offering the women entrepreneurs in the program the strategies to really price their products based on what cost of productions and all that scientific stuff. Otherwise, someone just makes a product and say, oh, looking at this, I can sell this at 100 bob, which always doesn't work in the market. Catherine, you've been with the program for quite some time as I would say gender forward, or making deliberate efforts to support women entrepreneurs. The Women's Economic Empowerment Portfolio is not only, was not only about the program. We had other programs prior launching the program with Strathmore. And as we come to the closeout, though I don't know if we're using the word closeout or divorce today. We said we're not, those are bad words. But from your experience, how has that journey been, especially supporting women entrepreneurs in the program? When you reflect back, what are some of the lessons, the best practices that you've learned through?
3 words for the experience we've seen since we joined KIM in 2019. Courage, confidence, and collateral. That has been spoken about here. And 2, courage and confidence are really something you need, and for women enterprises is a key thing to actually come out and ask for finance or even ask for other business advisory services. And what we've seen is that by preparing an SME to access finance, for example, coming up with the cash flow models, record-keeping templates, a pitch deck, we've taught them, and we still worked with Strathmore University, that you get the courage because you have data for decision making. And if you have cash flow models, you're able to show a financier, and usually a pitch deck is meant for a financier. So we prepare it because the audience of that pitch deck is a financier. So most of the information has to show a financier how they'll get in and how they'll get out of that investment. It could be 3 years down the line, which means cash flow modeling and having proper records is important. So as a woman enterprise, to cover courage and confidence, if they have that data properly done, they're able to answer questions of pricing, when do they get out, how much is the cost of labor, how much is product, and the elasticity of prices because of things like COVID or other issues in the market. So I have to say that just by working with enterprises to package them for investors, that has been very key to answer the issue of courage and confidence. The other issue on collateral, and it's systemic and it's all over the world. There are other products, financial products that are available. And from the BSPs, for example, we worked with in KIM, we were exposed by the program to other models of financing outside debt, or even within debt, such as supply chain financing, trade finance. And some do not require debt, they just require forward contracts, to support the women enterprises. There are opportunities for blended finance and grants, and these are areas there we were able to link women enterprises to, so that then we can go around the issue of collateral where if it's not, it's a systemic thing, but there are other ways to go around it. So courage, confidence, collateral, it's something that we were able to cover and work with women. Networking opportunities, again, expose women to other business partners, financiers, and this was something that we worked together with the KIM program and as well as Strathmore Business School to support women to provide linkages either for finance or markets.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Let me come back to you, Dr. Olo, and just speaking from where Catherine has left, courage, confidence, and collateral. Tell us your story post the program, especially on that bit of courage and confidence. And I'm coming back to you because we were looking at some study that said that for women, this is about employment, that for women, they wait until they tick 100% of requirements to apply for a job. But for men, as soon as they are at 50 or 60, they send in that application. And we're looking at it and saying that this also applies to financing, that really women take time to say, let me work on this today, maybe next month I'll be done with my cash flows. Maybe, how has that been for you post the program, especially now that you've told us you actually got a loan in a record of a week?
It's been a complete transformation. The first thing that happened to me, and I believe this is psychological, was that I was able to separate myself, my identity from my business. Before I did this program, me and my business were one. So I spent a lot of nights worrying about tomorrow, worrying about this. What about this time next year? COVID affected us tremendously because as a practice, I had to close for the first time in my life as a workaholic that I was for 7 months. And it was horrific. When we went back from a gross income in 2019 of 32 million that year, we were down to less than 17 million the following year. And we realized we had a problem. Of course, the program then teaches you that these are the fundamentals of business. This is what happens regarding this, that, and that pillar. And thereafter, I was able to psychologically disengage and to see my business as an entity that I can transform and make critical decisions about without necessarily affecting myself. And so, yes, there was a tremendous change in the way I addressed issues, from personalities within the business, from what kind of responsibility I assign others. And in fact, Lucy, as I was telling you when you called me, was that I was even able to come up with an idea which is called a dental membership for my patients, which we are in the process of launching, and which in itself would finance my business on its own without me needing to necessarily take on further debt. So it's a total transformation. It's like I was facing East and I'm now facing West.
And I remember you mentioned that there are times when you couldn't sleep for having a debt of, was it $600? And I hope you're sleeping now, now that you have a debt of almost 100K in dollars.
Yes, I'm actually able to engage bankers fearlessly. To me, as she said, as Virginia said, the bank's loans were bad. I would do loans and then I would have I'd have stomach ulcers for 3 years while I'm paying it off. I look at it and I'm like, who are you then? And who are you? It's a total change, yes.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Same to you, Virginia. How has that been post the program in terms of the 3 C's that we've heard from Catherine? How's that journey been?
When it comes to confidence, I will take you back to my upbringing. I used to help in my father's shop, which is a very informal sector. And in the informal sector, there's a way we do things. We call ourselves street smart. So you find you're not able to trust your employees because you think they will copy what you do and go start their businesses and become your competition. So there was an issue of micromanaging my team. So having gone through the program, I got confidence that what I'm doing is right? And there's a reason as to why I'm doing it, and the team has come to assist me, not to compete with me. So I was able to empower the team that I had, and the position that I was holding in the company, I was more of the technician. I was doing the tactical job. The position I was holding, I had to employ 6 more people after coming out of the program so that they can cover and assist me. There's one thing that the instructors kept telling us, that if you have left the class over 10 times to pick calls and to direct how business is going to be done, then you're not an entrepreneur. They were teaching us and asking us, can you be out of your business for 90 days? Gone for cruise shipping or whatever, you're enjoying your property, and your business still survives. And I was a culprit, because most of the time I would get out of class to call supplier X, client Y. But currently, having gone through the program, I've been able to employ 6 people to cover my position. And I know I'm going to employ more. That is job creation. I've been able to detach myself from the business, just as Dr. Jen has put it. And now I'm able to focus on more strategic jobs than the tactical ones. When it comes to approaching the bank, my bank used to send me emails that, dear Miss Virginia, this is your relationship banker. And for a very long time, I never used to see the need of a relationship banker. I used to think, they just want my money, these banks. So I had never contacted my relationship banker for the period of time that I was banking with them, for about 5 years. And coming through the program, I called the relationship banker with confidence. Having gone through the coaching sessions and business pitching, investor readiness, I was courageous to call my relationship banker and told her, I need a loan for 5 million. And she was like, yes, we have to assess your books. You need this. She would ask us, we need your financials. Shika, they're here. We need, how are you going to repay the loan? We already had the data. When we were doing the pitching sessions, we were taken through for 2 months with our coaches and business advisories. And they would guide us step by step. You'd look at your business and look at the traction and the profits that you're making. And after looking at my business and the investment I needed to grow it, I figured it's not sustainable. So I had to sit with my team and come up with a plan of how much and for a period of how many years do we need the money. Yeah, so I was confident enough to face my bank, and in a month's time I was given the funding. Yes.
And you mentioned that for the first time you have a strategic plan for the business.
Oh yes, even a vision. I was sharing with I was sharing with the ladies that we were seated on the same table, telling them, I'm visualizing my business going into manufacturing. And in the health industry, it's very hard, but we were taken through, with Strathmore, we were taken through creating a vision board for your business. So every time my team would ask me to assist, I would tell them, oh, no, I got this. And I would ask myself, why should I hire more people? What is it that I will be doing? I'll just be sitting there like a boss, observing them doing the job. And I realized strategic work is more thinking and being a visionary appropriator for your organization. You need to think of where you're taking them. That has really helped me.
Thank you very much. Prof, I remember as we went by with the cohorts, we can also say we got better, even in terms of the kind of applications that were coming through. And there were a lot of lessons that were coming from this particular program. I wonder what your lessons or best practices would be in terms of creating such programs targeting women entrepreneurs with aspects of sustainability also very taken care of. I'm just wondering, what would you say about issue sustainability, but alongside really giving women a space to first play, and then, of course, letting them go?
All right. So I suppose around co-creating these kinds of programs, one of the interesting things that we found, I think it was in either in cohort 1 or cohort 2, is that the applicants were very diverse. I think it was in the first cohort. So some of them were just in the early years of their business, maybe 2 or 3 years, and others had been around for a long time. And when they came to class to have discussions, there seemed to be a disconnect even in the class discussions, just based on the fact that they had very different experiences. Those who had been in business longer had a lot more issues to raise, had a lot more challenges, and some of them said, we wish you were with other like-minded people who have walked a similar journey as we have. So even right from the selection, sort of deciding on the profile. Now, all of these women entrepreneurs needed support at whatever level. But being able to segment in a meaningful way for different levels of support. And it's interesting that Kate is here, Gitonga, because we have one of the other activities we've been doing is looking at different programs for different levels of entrepreneurs. You know, we say MSME as if it is one category of enterprises, but it is not. A micro enterprise and a small enterprise and a medium enterprise, they had very different levels of growth, different levels of experience, different needs in terms of capacity, whether it's financial capacity, technical capacity, HR capacity. And so when you put them in one cohort or one class, sometimes you find that they disconnect. So that was probably an interesting lesson for us. Other lessons around, I think some of them came in with the issues around pitching and coaching, especially the coaching aspect. That we have a lot of business coaches, but not necessarily for coaching for investor readiness, which is what this program was about. So being able to even support our coaches to tweak their coaching to focus on investor readiness as an important outcome. And being very clear on what is the deliverable for this coaching activity. And I think even for that, we got better as we went. Because initially, the coaches were not very clear on what the end was supposed to be for this. But I think with time, it was very clear on what the deliverable was. Another interesting thing, like I said, is that some of the entrepreneurs, a lot of the people they had, a lot of the women they had, this is about investor readiness. They thought, after this, first of all, there'll be investors there. I'm going to pitch and I'm going to get money. They quickly discovered it's not as simple and as straightforward as that. Some of them were not even ready to get the money. In fact, some of them pulled back and said, I've just realized after these 5 days, my business is not even ready for investors. Yeah, so, and therefore, even maybe at a selection stage, helping the women to understand that not all businesses are going to necessarily be ready for investment. Some of you may take a lot longer or a little longer than others, and it is okay. It is okay for you to grow at whatever pace you need to grow to get to where you need to get to based on what your objectives are. Something important that Virginia has said is about the vision, yeah? And the vision boarding, I think, was also really important. And a number of women entrepreneurs, again, did not have a vision for their business. They were just, they were living day to day, and they were happy to live day to day until somebody told them, you need to stop and think about where are you going to be in 5 years or in 10 years? Because even if you're going to take a loan, for example, if you can't project 5 years, then you can't project loan repayment for 5 years, and you need to be able to do that. And therefore, being able to even connect the different dots with regard to the business, your operations, the people aspect, the finances, the product or service that you're delivering, the quality of that, your customers, your suppliers, and sort of just being able to appreciate the ecosystem for your business. I think that's an important thing that we thought was, we think is critical in terms of a key learning. Some of the other things were about having guest speakers on different themes. Like for KRA, the best people to talk about KRA is KRA themselves. So usually when you have a session where we want people to talk about tax, we invite the tax people. We don't pretend that we are the tax people. We can give them advice on taxes, but let the Kenya Revenue Authority come and they get all the questions, which is what tends to happen. In fact, that session never has, there's never enough time. Yeah, we do it for, that it's 2 hours, and they say they want more time, and people continue. And the good thing, actually, with the KRA is that the officials are very open to have conversations outside of those trainings. They say, look, here is my contact, and I think you've reached out to them. And you can see that they're nodding. And they actually help you. They work with you. So those opportunities for just creating that initial conversation, and then people start to be comfortable and at peace that KRA is my partner. Other speakers, guest speakers like those ones for, as I said, quality certification, like Kenya Bureau of Standards, also coming in and saying, look, if you're going to be involved in this is the level of quality we require. You have to have a mark of quality. If you're in the agribusiness space, the whole issue of traceability and certification is important. So again, having speakers who would speak on specific themes for the entrepreneurs I think we found that was an important lesson as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and of course that really helped enrich the program as we went along. Picking from where Prof has left, Catherine, you came in after our first cohort, and also based on the lessons that we were learning and what Prof has just shared about investor readiness coaching. You came in to support the coaches with the training and also to enroll them during the coaching sessions. How was that experience from your end, and even in terms of lessons from working with the coaches, and also having an opportunity again as somebody who is passionate about women entrepreneurs to link? Did you get business out of that conversation with the mentees and also the coaches?
Thanks. So I'll pick from what Professor Kiraka has said. Subject matter experts in coaching are necessary when it comes to SME investor readiness. And what we did work with the business school at TOT for the trainers and the coaches around SME investor readiness, but specifically because they have expertise in coaching, the subject matter expert here is we are having SMEs pitching to investors. So what is the investor looking for? And that is how then we prepare these SMEs to package them to answer the eligibility of a financial investor. It could be debt, it could be grants, it could be PE money, it could be equity, private equity, or blended finance and all that. So we did work with the trainers and coaches around that. And what we saw in cohort 2 was the kind of coaches that came from Strathmore were actually industry experts. Some were ex-bankers who have been credit officers, so they did understand what a bank looks for. So when it came to preparing the women SMEs, the women SMEs could articulate the amount of money they need, and at what period, and for what purpose, and technically how the investor will get out once they put in their money. And those are the key areas where an investor looks at. Women enterprises are very strong in articulating the business they're doing, the problem statement, the solutions they're having in the market they're accessing. But even across for SMEs, articulating financials is usually relegated to the last 2 minutes of a pitch, whereas now what we worked and saw success is out of 10 minutes of pitching, at least 50% of that time was spent on financials. And that is most important because the audience is a financier. If it was a grant giver, then the audience changes and you start talking about impact and sustainability. So in this case, we were really looking at financials. And we did attend the pitching sessions with the SMEs, and you could see in this at this level, like Dr. Law said, financials, KCB was ready to now walk into a business and actually finance. And that for us was a success, and even on this side of Strathmore Business School. That said, being a BSP, we also, we support enterprises to access finance among other support services for enterprises. So there were over 150 enterprises that were trained in the 3 cohorts. We already have some that have come to us and need additional support to access finance, or even improve their processes in order to access finance in the future. So I have to say, and I believe what Professor has said, the Women Enterprise Investor Readiness Program, Women SME Investor Readiness Program, will go on at Strathmore Business School. And for us as a BSP, that's a mining ground for business for women enterprises. So this is a very good sustainable collaboration that as a program Kim has provided and left a product with an institution that is capable, to attract and pull together women enterprises. And for us as BSPs, we're happy to come and network and get additional business. So that for us is very commendable. Thanks.
Absolutely. And happy that that marriage between SRC and Strathmore will continue post the program. Allow me to give my panelists a breather as I posed a question to some of the program participants. And today we're talking about investing in women for economic empowerment. And just randomly, I have a question around how we've been able to do that in our own rights as women entrepreneurs who went through the program. And I know almost of you by names, but let me pick Jacqueline because she's seated almost near me. How have you been able to, also in your own right, expand the discourse on gender equality and women economic empowerment, because I think we were clear that from the program that is our ultimate goal, to continue tackling gender barriers in entrepreneurship. Jacqueline is right here.
Thank you very much, Lucy, and to everyone. And I give a big approach to Lucy, to Professor Kiraka, to the entire cohort one that we worked with. The KIM program was quite an eye-opener, not to me alone, but I'm sure. After that, we ended up being like a family. So we keep on these, at least I have a close family that we keep on checking each other with. What are you doing? We're encouraging each other. We've become each other's keeper, a sister's keeper, and looking forward to being queenpreneurs, not just entrepreneurs, but just queenpreneurs.
That's another word. You need to clap for that. I mean, we are enriching the space.
So my journey, I'm one person who came when I was a bit uptight, as Prof was saying, without you're in business, but you want to be you and you. You're not looking at the transition or succession part of it. There's the vision, obvious, having so many ideas and wanting to expand and everything. But this now moved me now to the other point where I wasn't able to raise my shoulders up and face it. From export now to farming, getting to value addition of my products that I farm, now taking care of the post-harvest losses that we are going through. And now also collaborating with other women still who are in this program. There is a lady in Isiolo, just sitting next to me, Lydia, and they do a lot of herbs. And these herbs at times, they don't have the right markets. The buyers don't come through. And being that now I ventured into value addition of onions, whether I do value addition on onions. So you can get onion jam, onion paste, name them. Anything onion, just talk to me. So now I breaded it now with their herbs that now we dry them, grind, and bread them to spices. So this is now a line that apart from me, there's also other women who are also benefiting, and we're trying to bring and just get a niche market for these products. Because once a value addition, it's a better price and a niche market. Kim, I'll take this, of course, now I have the mic. Kim, when I got there, I had done another program before with TFO, but Kim polished me that TFO was able to pick me as one of the women 10 women who are picked from Kenya to go for an exhibition in London. So, you know, as I'm saying, it's just something that went opening doors and doors and doors. I've not met any BAPs yet. I've not gone and sat with one. But I was still able to walk to my bank, just negotiate and tell them, no, just believe in me for once. Start with the lowest amount that you feel. Maybe that's what you can give me. And then let's walk the journey. Mm-hmm. So it's a journey. And ladies, let's believe in ourselves. I think the problem is where we don't believe in ourselves as ladies. We have a lot. And also let's learn to give it away to other people, to expertise. During the tea break, when you gave us an assignment, I spoke with, I think, Benson and someone else, and Benson, his question was, okay, what happens, because apart now from the financing and everything, there is another covered and rooted problem that makes most businesses not go past 3rd year birthday, 5th year birthday. And when we looked at it, we saw the problem is I want to own everything. I don't want to give it to anybody else. So women, yes, you know, we fear it a lot because if I can say right now, most women have given their, you know, when you're writing your next of kin, most women, we are writing our mothers or our children. Because we are afraid maybe if in case of anything, this man is gonna run away with or use it. Or even not trusting our brothers or something. But let's be open. Let's have board members who are expertise. I've not done it, but I'm working. At least I have a board chairman right now whom I listen to. And I really follow what they say because this is someone now with a finance background. So I'm here in the agriculture background. Yes, I have all the ideas, but the finance background, it has been away. So women, let's collaborate, but the collaboration is not competition. Even in my value addition, there's another lady, she's not here, Joki Kivuti. She also does sauces. She was the other person that I consulted, and I told her, you know what, I think I should do something with my onions, maybe sauces, maybe jams. And she walked me through the journey. She didn't feel like I'm a competitor. She felt like she's helping me wear my shoes and walk my way. And she's still someone that we consult each other with every day. So let's not be competitors. Let's be collaborators. Let's be partners. And we are going to swing the world. No lie.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And for those of you who fear cutting onions, when you cut onions, you cry a lot. Jacqueline is your go-to person because she's done value addition, and you can't definitely cry. I use her products. You talk about succession, and I wonder if we have Angela Odero. Maybe she already left. Irene Mumo, maybe they left, but oh yes. Irene, sorry, Irene, I didn't see you. In terms of investing back to the women, the smallholder farmers in your community, I know you're doing something big in that space. Post the program, how has that been?
Thank you very much, Lucy. My name is Irene Mumo. I'm coming from Makueni. I'm a smallholder farmer, and I wear also another hat. So when we talk about smallholder women farmers, we are kind of marginalized, but I also wear another hat of widowhood. So we are talking about two very strategic areas in which we are trying to support the women. And I became widowed 3 years ago, and because of that, I was locked in Makueni, and I became a farmer. And I don't look like this picture. We are chic farmers. So we are trying to bring professionalism, a new outlook to farming. And that's why we are carrying the women who we are working with way out in Makueni. And I'm coming from the upper side, which is, it's not as dry, By the way, Makueni is not Mombasa Road, eh? So we are coming from the other side where we are endowed with rain, we are endowed with vegetables, we are endowed with coffee, we have a lot of avocados. Now, bringing in women who are excluded has been a journey, because we are talking about me being a forefront person and actually working with them. And I'm going to wear the two hats and just give you a little of my story, because it's been very challenging, considering the fact that I'm coming into this new dispensation, having come from a thriving business that actually almost went down in the honey sector during COVID. And I'd actually gotten into the export market. I'm just coming in from China. We have opened that market again. And I have a product there right now, which we are reestablishing again. And God willing, we should even be on Taobao. If you know Taobao, not Alibaba. I know you know. I don't know whether you know the difference. Alibaba is the global outlook for importing, but Taobao is the local market there. So that has really opened my eyes into working with other women in the bees and honey value chain. Now, coming to the vegetables, Jackie is talking about onions. So I have also done value addition in onions, but now I'm pushing it forward to work with farmers, women farmers, because we want to push in the capacity assessment, capacity enhancement in organic, agroforestry, agroecology, and global gap. So my business is all those certified in 3 years. We are having very interesting discussions on value addition. And because of this program and having come through another program where we were with Phoebe, I've been able to talk to 2 investors. And I was just giving them this story of a lunch hour. I've just signed the term sheets, and we've just signed in the disbursement notes of a multi-billion 7-year project to actually enhance the factory. Thank you. God has been good. It's been a tough journey. I've been telling them about how I used to cry in the night and asking myself what happened to me in 2020, but God has been gracious. So they're going to help set up the factory. We are going to do value addition and it's both sides. So we are doing avocado value addition for oil and Evo, and we are also going to do value addition for vegetables. And there's also a link because I'm an integrated farmer. Together with the others around, we have a lot of milk in Makueni, in Boni especially. We're going to start working on dairy. So we are looking at 3 components in this. Has it been a journey which is interesting of inclusivity? Yes, a lot of learning, sweat and blood, but it's been very interesting because a lot of it has come from technical support. And the fact that I remember pitching for the KIM first cohort, and one of the components I was pitching was for the digital component. Working with women farmers, bringing the payment system, bringing capacity building, and taking them to market, and for that matter, the export market. And I remember being told, your project is a startup, we can't finance you. That was last year, in I think about a year now. These 2 investors have picked up that as a component, and I'm not talking about little money. So you can imagine I'm sitting in this space, and I have all these women who have been asking me questions, both young, older women, young women, the youth, and they're all rallying behind me to actually bring the inclusivity to this. What are the lessons that I'm learning, and what is the way forward? I've heard a lot about money coming in and not coming in. Yeah, it's a convertible note, what we have been engaging and working with. Sorry, I'm not lucky to get the KCBs here, but we have moved externally because we are talking about investors from Mauritius, South Africa, and Kenya coming together to do this financing. And one more investor who's actually coming in with technical capacity for the factory coming in from Germany. This has been 10 years work. It's not overnight. Are we branded? Yes. I'll quickly just show you the product that is in the Chinese market. This one. This is the level of branding. that we have had to get to. So it's not just overnight. So the women who we are working with here, let's rally together. Let's put in the resilience, the persistence. But what about Kim and you said? Please work with us on the technical support. Just don't look at our figures. Look at the incremental. What do I call them? The steps. I brand. I was telling the people at lunch that every time I would do something, I would throw it at the investor. Don't forget these discussions, we've had them for 2 years. This one of the convertible note. But every time I would do something, I would throw it at the Kenyan counterpart. And it says, Irene, you're making progress. You've put in on the farm, I have 25 acres and I've just come into possession of another 10 acres. So I have 35 acres of land to work with. Over and up, that's mine. And on top of that, what else the community is coming up with. So all this rallying together, the value addition coming in from that. And he's telling me, every time I do something, I throw it at them. I get a new branding for something, I put it there. So they started gaining confidence. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, about a month ago, I remember the current chamber president, Dr. Ruto. This year alone, we met in 2 different continents. I've invested in the export market, trying to understand what it is that they want. And he told me the other day, Irene, I think you have something that you must tell everybody what you're doing. Because every time I see you, you have a new product. What is it that you're doing? In my heart, I felt, thank you, God. Thank you very much, you said, walk with us, bring us technical expertise. What are we saying? I know a program that I went through called Share People, where they bring in all these experts. I'm not saying, Phoebe, you're not an expert, but I'm trying to say, I'm trying to say that they look at my product. For me to get to this level, although this branding is for the export market, she has been using a product that I went through with somebody who came in from Share People who had been in the L'Oreal for 47 years, and he helped me and guided me through my product development.
Thank you so much, Irene. A round of applause for Irene. Indeed, from her story, you get that you empower a woman, you empower a community and our whole nation. Just 1 minute final remarks from my panelists, and I'll just start with Dr. Olo. Your final remarks.
My final remarks would be that I believe that what Kim USAID began for us needs to be a nationwide and a regional activity. We were the lucky 50 women in cohort 3. I can think easily, and I'm sure Virginia can say the same, of 10 women, 15 women we know who would benefit from this. And so my appeal would be, let's continue doing it. It's working. Thank you.
Finally, there's something Jackie said, that most female enterprises, after operating for 3 to 4 years, they close. And I'm an analyst, and from analysis I observed it's because of the imbalance of home, life, or rather work-life balance. And this is so because, unlike our male counterparts, a woman is still required to manage her home and still manage her business. And most men here will quote for us a Bible verse saying that a good woman makes the home and the bad one breaks it. So being a woman entrepreneur and you have not gone through the program, I am very glad that Strathmore have taken up from Kim to provide this program to other female entrepreneurs. I would advise you, please come. They will teach you how to structure your business to a point where you can just go and look after your children and your business is still running. Another thing, I will talk to the financiers who are here. If you observe from the panelists, all of us are women wearing glasses. I don't know if you've noticed that. So what I'm driving at is I would request you to trust us. Women are good payers. Because when we go to the banks, the fact that you're a woman, you lose at 40%. Your chances of getting the loan is at 60 now, not 99. So I would request the bankers to please work with women. We like to protect our family names, and we'll pay your loans. Last but not least, I will also request the business advisors in the room. Because when we go to the banks, there are banks that can give you up to maybe 10 million unsecured loans, but these other loans, they will ask you for collateral. I would request the business advisors in the room, please teach us how to acquire collateral. Because if you ask me right now, if my bank asks me right now how much collateral I have, I'm only 30. I don't have much. Maybe my father's land. So please, the business advisors in the room, teach us to acquire collateral. Thank you.
Rob, and as you give your final remarks, even in terms of the sustainability aspect of the program.
All right, thanks, Lucy. So yes, I think some of the interesting things, as we reflect back, I must say that we have many women programs at the business school. Women in leadership, women in executive leadership, women directors, but we had not had a program for women entrepreneurs. And we always sort of thought about it, reflected on it, and we said, we need a program for women in business. And we'd go back and forth about it, and then we'd sort of pack it for some time. So when Kim came knocking, and we thought, maybe this is the time to do it. And so they found people who had an idea already and were ready to sort of jump in and do it. And I think that was a good beginning. And now looking back, we're saying, sometimes this is an idea whose time has come or had come, and so this is the right time for us to do this. So we're looking to integrate this as one of our executive education programs at the business school. One of the interesting challenges, again, you're finding is that this program was heavily co-financed. So the participants did not pay the true value of the program that the business school would charge if they were paying for the full cost. And so the conversation you're having is, how do we package this to make sure that the women will be willing to pay what it actually costs without the input from KIM? And so, and you said, people pay for value. Yeah, so it's about packaging the value of what you're selling. And one of the things that we are strengthening now, and some of the ladies, I think Dr. Lo has been a beneficiary, is that we have an investor program where we bring together the investors themselves and talk about the kinds of businesses. And we're basically telling them, look, you people are up there in your high tower, and you're saying there are no places to invest. The businesses to invest in are there. Maybe you just need to think about how you package your messaging so that these businesses, even if they're not ready at the point when you meet them, don't be so quick to throw them out. Look at how you can work with them to make them ready for your investment. So in terms of partnership, in terms of collaboration, we have a separate center at the university which is doing something about investor readiness. And I think Dr. Lo attended that program. And they also help them to improve on their pitches so that they can be able to be investor ready. And so we are even looking at working with other departments within the university that are in the same space and are looking at how we can support women. We even have a program for women in technology that we do with Standard Chartered Bank. And again, it's about supporting the women who are in business, specifically in the area of technology, and how they can grow their businesses and also get investments. So I think what we're saying is that there's a lot of opportunity for growth for this program at the university and at the business school. And we're very keen to actually make sure that it continues to run. One of the other things, being an academic institution, we're also researchers. And I've personally done quite a bit of research that is focusing on women's economic empowerment. The most recent one being on access to government procurement opportunities. Many of us may be familiar with the famous AGPO program that is run by the government. And this is where I've done a lot of work with the National Treasury, and I was saying I'm very happy because the Secretariat is at the National Treasury for the AGPO program. And when we were doing the research, we did the research in 25 counties. and talking to women, was focusing only on the women who have accessed these opportunities for government procurement. And in some counties, the women told us, look, for us, you either empower, women's empowerment and running the family are mutually exclusive. You cannot have both. If you're running the business, you forget about the family. If you're running the family, you forget about the business. Others told us the business, either it's the family or the family it's the business. Yes, or kills the business. The family kills the business or the business kills the family. And that is true in some of our communities. And so we found very interesting conversations and asking them, so what is the way forward? And one of the things that has come up is, can we think of even an integrated approach? As we economically empower women, these women are coming from communities, they're coming from families, they're coming from backgrounds, they're coming from cultures, where some of it is not necessary, is frowned upon. The idea of economic empowerment of women is frowned upon. And so how do we support the men so that they support the women? And that is taking us to a very interesting conversation about even some of the forums that we have, rather than just talking about women. Get some of the men, get some of their husbands coming in and hearing why empowering their wife is a good thing for them. Yeah, they have to know what's in it for them as well. So an integrated approach to women's economic empowerment. Another aspect regarding sustainability that we're thinking about is, as I said, we have very many programs that are focusing on women and empowerment of women. And Lucy just the other day asked me whether Strathmore can consider having a women's economic empowerment hub. And I've been sharing that idea, and some people said, no, don't call it women's economic empowerment, call it something, gender something, so that the conversation about including the men is seen even from the way you name this center. But the idea is that we are having a place where we are constantly talking about supporting women, from the research to the narratives, to the stories, to the documentation, programs, that there's a very intentional effort to ensure that we're continuing to promote the empowerment of women, and not just economic empowerment, even social empowerment, political empowerment. How many of our women are participating in political offices? And you've seen from the side of the government, they're trying to do this as well. So looking at an all-round aspect of how to empower our women is something else that we're looking at. So I think in terms of sustainability, those are probably some of the things that we are looking at, and also initiatives. Thanks.
Really happy to hear that, Prof. From a conversation I know we've had for quite some time, I'm really happy to hear that the conversations that have started. 1 minute.
The gratitude I'd like to give first is USAID KIM supported over 40 business advisory service providers. And some of us, my colleagues, were here earlier today. AfriScope, Phoebe's here, and there are others in the room. And I have to say that we have appreciated, and SMEs have appreciated, the need for business advisory at startup, at growth, at scale. And that is an important point for any enterprise. Even with the lack of courage, confidence and all that, talk to a business advisor, because we have exposure to access finance. So when you say teach us how to get collateral, we have avenues of getting finance that does not need collateral, because we have a pipeline of financiers who we have been exposed to. So as business advisors, we're very grateful to USAID Kenya Investment Mechanism for giving us this platform to network and also access SMEs. And again, to also financial institutions, we were able to work with them to reduce the number of applications that are dropped, for application for debt, because some of those applications are dropped because of lack of the right information, whereas the SME has that information. So what I would like to say is, sustainably, as BSPs, we're able to continue beyond the incentives that KIM was giving us, and definitely we've already gotten business and started internal departments that support enterprises to access finance. So very thankful for that.
Thank you so much, my panel. Thank you so much, Dr. Olo, Virginia, Professor Ruth, And Professor Ruth had as an emergency, family emergency, and we really appreciate you for making time despite what you're going through. So we appreciate. Sante sana, Catherine. And I think from me, I'm just speaking from what the gentleman from the National Treasury said about moral hazard. As you can see, these are very serious, responsible entrepreneurs, and I don't think, and they've heard about the existence of CGS, and I'm sure that they will also be exploring ways to benefit from that facility. But they'll repay, as you've seen, they've gone through the process, so that assurance is that I'm giving you. Thank you so much, my panelists. Until another time, I am sure that's how you do it in the media. Asanteni.
Thank you so much.